friend and conspirator. And so I'm going to talk briefly about her, and then I'll play a couple of her songs too. So that's Shirley in a picture. That's Shirley over there. She comes to us from Wyoming County, West Virginia. And she also comes from a coal family. Her father, Neely, was a union coal miner. And if you go to Shirley's website, you talk to Shirley for more than 3 minutes, you find out how important her father's membership in the UMWA was, how important that identity as an underground coal miner was. And there is a significant difference there. Neely was an underground miner, and there's a difference between that and being a surface miner in her mind. And Neely Stewart died of black lung at a very young age, and that has clearly had a very significant effect on how Shirley sees the world, how she sees coal as part of our history. I always like this quote from her. She was raised in a musical family. Neely Stewart sang gospel music all throughout southern West Virginia and greater part of central Appalachia. She says that he had an ability to sing songs that were purposely for that church. That Neely knew what the church needed, and he could sing a song and he could talk directly to you, give you what they might call conviction in one of these churches. And Shirley says, I was literally 10 years old before I realized that everyone couldn't sing. Thanks to a caterwauling friend of hers who said that she was singing, but wasn't in fact. Now, in many ways, and I'm going to brag on her a whole lot, Shirley is one of those great Appalachian stories, and one of the stories of kind of what WVU used to could do, and I say used to could importantly, right? She has 3 degrees from WVU, journalism, master's of social work, and a PhD in history, and almost always we send those really talented people away. We say, we educated you, you did a great job, you should go someplace else. But Shirley said, no, I need to be here and I need to be telling the stories of the people that I grew up with. As part of that was her dissertation project, which was later published as a book by WVU Press, a book called Tearing Down the Mountains, the Impact of Mountaintop Removal on Southern West Virginia Communities. An award-winning dissertation, a powerful book, and I don't just say that because she's sitting in the room. It's the book that made me want to write more about mountaintop removal and music. It's a book that really talks about how significant an impact this surface mining process has had on the ways that people can live or not live in southern West Virginia communities. The song that drew me in to Shirley Stewart Burns' work was a song called Leave Those Mountains Down. This is a song, a personal story. I was living in Illinois, far from home, far from West Virginia, and I was looking for songs about mountaintop removal, and I found this video of this woman standing at an Appalachian Studies Association conference podium, singing this song that I again swore was old, way old. It wasn't hers, couldn't have been hers. It was way old. And it turns out it was written by Shirley Stewart Burns, and she had been ambushed that day. Some people who knew she could sing had asked her to sing it while she was moderating a session. And despite her nerves, she did it in a way that put chills up and down my spine, made me cry, made me miss home. She says, I could hear that melody, and then I heard the words, and then I heard in my dreams, she dreamed songs. Wake up! And I woke up, and I wrote it down, and I went back to sleep. I thought, I'm supposed to get this out there. People are supposed to hear it. So she premiered it at an anti-mountaintop removal rally sometime in the 90s. We haven't pinned down the exact date on that, but we should at some point. And as a consequence, this song has been one of those songs that's been picked up by the anti-MTR movement. A song that sounds like it could be an old Appalachian ballad or an old protest song. It has echoes to me of some of the old Aunt Molly Jackson and Florence Reese protest songs from the 20s and 30s, but it is a thoroughly modern composition.
Down, boys, leave those mountains down. Don't tear up what the heavens bore, and leave those mountains down. My daddy was a miner, and my granddad's too. They crawled inside the bowels of earth, digging coal and paying union dues. They long since died for King Coal, lay buried in the ground. But if they were here, they'd tell you, leave that mountain down. Leave those mountains down, boys. leave those mountains down. Don't tear up what the heavens bore, and leave those mountains down. Yes.
I hate to cut it off, especially with her sitting there. For the sake of time. If you are interested in this, she has an album called Coalfield Acapella that you can buy from her website, and I highly recommend it. The last song I want to talk about brings the public, leave those mountains down. It's a very public statement. It's again one of those point your fingers at the coal operators, the politicians kinds of songs. Ode to a Miner, Song for My Daddy, is a little bit different in that she's really writing this is a personal song. This is a song, as it says, Song for My Daddy. We know Neely Stewart died from black lung disease, and so this is a song about what he might have said or might have thought. She told me that the idea, and I'll read it because it's a lot of words. The idea for this song came to her from a book that she had, a book about industrial workers. And she says on the cover of the book is this really handsome miner covered in coal dust. And he reminded me so much of my daddy with his big blue eyes. And I looked at that picture one day and I said, "What are you trying to say? You're trying to say something with my eyes." That's what I thought. What would you tell us if you could? And I looked at my picture of my daddy, and I said, "What would you tell us if you could? What would you say if you could speak? What would you say?" And that song just came to me, and in 5 minutes it was done. I really believe that if my daddy could speak again, that's what he would have said. And she goes on to say, and this is one of the things that a lot of people can take this personally and say, this happened in my family. But one of the things that I think is really remarkable about the women that I've talked about today is the ability to extrapolate to other families. She told me, "I know this didn't just happen to my father. My daddy is one of so many that this happened to. And if I could give them a voice by giving him a voice, then I think he would be really, really proud and happy of that." Here's a little bit of Ode to a Miner, Song for My Daddy. And picture Neely Stewart singing this.
Black lungs took my life. Now I leave behind my children and wife. I tell all you young ones, don't go underground, 'cause if the mining don't kill you, black lungs still around. When I was a young man, seems just yesterday, 2 choices I had were to leave or to stay. My kin lived and died here, left one choice for me, to go underground, coal mining would be. And black lungs took my life. Now I leave behind my children and wife. I tell all you young ones, don't go underground, 'cause if the mining don't kill you, black lungs still around. Before I knew it, the years they had flown, 30 years underground had come and they'd gone. My lungs were infested, could get no relief. The doctors all said a slow death it would be from black lungs took my life. Now I leave behind my children and wife. I tell all you young ones, don't go underground, 'cause if the mining don't kill you, black lungs still around. I can't walk through the valleys, the mountains too high. Every breath that I take seems to be a goodbye. My life's all but over, but what do I show but 30 years of hard labor, and this hell that I've known is black lungs took my life. Now I leave behind my children and wife. I tell all you young ones, don't go underground, 'cause if the mining don't kill you, black lungs still around. I beg all you young ones, don't go underground, 'cause if the mining don't kill you, black lungs still around. If the mining don't kill you, black lungs still around.
Yeah. So for me, learning about these women and playing their songs and working on arrangements of their songs with my students and trying to get to know as many of these songwriters as I can on a personal level, I'm constantly inspired by the ability to capture the essence of these experiences in song, to communicate these messages in ways that make me want to sing along, in ways that are subtly subversive as well as overtly subversive, right? To hear that last song and not want to sing along with it, right? To not get it caught in your head. It's one of the great things about music. I can stand here and talk all day, and some of my students are in the room know I can sit here and talk all day, right? But to sing that, you're going to remember it more than anything I say here today, right? What's even more important then is that our story about what West Virginia and what Appalachia is about is unfortunately still a male-dominated one. And I have to say, as a male interpreter, I have had real issues. There's a reason I didn't sing any of these songs today. I didn't feel comfortable putting those words in my voice. I had real issue. In fact, if it hadn't been for the fact that the audio quality on the interview with Shirley was a little not for public display, I felt kind of weird saying her words. Because these are women's experiences. And women have been the consistent part about Appalachian life. On a very personal level, when I was raised up, and I know when my wife was raised up here in West Virginia, our fathers worked away. It was Mom who held the family together. It was Mom who raised the garden. It was Mom who made sure that there was canned goods taken out of that garden. It was Mom who made sure that our clothes were made, or that our clothes were mended. It was Mom who held everything together. And when Mom couldn't, Grandma helped. Dad was away. But our story about Appalachian life and Appalachian politics is so often told from the perspective of great men to the neglect of the women who held it all together. Women weren't just in supporting roles, they were in the lead roles. We just haven't told the story the way that it needs to be told. Thank you all very much. Appreciate your time.